Hello and welcome back to Refractions. I am Stephen Mallon, your host, and I am very happy that we have the artistic director and CEO of the Photo Museum Ireland, Trish Lambe, joining us. So, Trish, thank you.
Hello, it's lovely to be here.
Yeah. So I guess my question for you that I always start off with is, can you just tell us a little bit about what your history of photography is?
Well, I've been working with my organization for over 30 years, I have to confess. So yeah, I started way back. So when I started, I went to art college, but there was no degree program for photography. I wasn't even aware it was a thing. But when I used to kind of goof off and get bored, I used to go to the library. We had a great library in the National College of Art and Design, and they had great photography books. So I just used to go and look at photography books, and then a position came up and I went for it, not knowing too much, and I just loved it. Yeah, and I think what really drew me to it was the fact that I grew up in the countryside in Ireland, and we're not that confident around visual arts, but photography was the one thing that connected people together. It kind of made sense of the world. I didn't like the idea of art that had you kind of in a turret removed from people. I like the fact that that connection that it has, that link to real lived experience, and you have to be out in the world. So I think that's what really drew me to it originally.
It's like, I mean, it is a medium, right, that a lot of people can kind of relate to, like especially in the digital world, that it is not such a foreign medium to them. Like they can understand the process and,
Yeah.
may be able to imagine themselves experiencing or doing it.
Well, we all interact with it. And I think in Ireland in particular, we're not we've got this very strong literary culture, but we because we were also a colony, we didn't have that big historical, canon established of indigenous, Irish artists who were very, very famous speaking about Irish culture. So we lacked kind of confidence around the visual arts, but photography is different because it wasn't kind of set on such a hierarchical scale. So people were engaging with photography in a completely different way. So I think it's an easier medium for people to engage with, because they interact with it, because they know what it is.
Yeah, for good or for bad. It's like it's not considered, it's at like the bottom tier of fine art.
Yeah.
It is a art form, it is a practice and everything, but it's not. And I feel this. I mean, I have so much respect for painters because I can't paint to save my life.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but
so
I think that's why photography is so interesting, because it inhabits that area where people aren't sure, and some, like in Ireland, a lot of the kind of cultural institutions, those big museums, have been slower than other countries, slower than France, slower than the US, to embrace photography, but they have now fully embraced it. But it was a little bit slower than other countries. America was way out ahead, France was way out ahead. We were very much following as well an English development in photography, because we didn't have degree programs. So anyone who was studying would have been going to the UK primarily to undertake the first, degree programs in Newport or in Farnham, places like that. So that had a big influence. So it's only really since the 1990s, when the first degree programs were set up by photographers north and south who had trained in the UK, that it really started to develop. The sector started to grow here in Ireland.
okay. Um, so the museum itself, did I see that it had a name change at some
Yeah,
point?
excuse me. We set up it as Gallery of Photography, which was a very generic name, with always causes difficulties. In 1978, so we were set up right along the River Liffey at the Halfpenny Bridge. For anybody who knows Dublin, it's a landmark, and it was a a small space, but it was a great space because it was at a bus stop. So it was really democratic. So people used to use it as a bus shelter. So, for example, that the person who wrote, Justin Carville, who wrote one of the first, surveys of the history of photography, as a kind of practice, used to get the bus from there, and that's how we got into it. So, it was a great, excuse me, a great space. But so we were showing a lot of mixed. We showed Bill Brandt, lots of different people that were making work at the time. Martin Parr, lots, this real cross section of people. Some local artists as well, some famous artists, Magnum people like that, Duano, all kinds of people. So, but it was very much in that 1970s, 1980s kind of humanist street documentary photography. It was only when kind of subjective documentary practice came along in the 90s that things started to change.
Okay.
And we changed our name in about 3 years ago, because having been kind of set up, the first photographic artists started around that time too. So say 70s, 80s, 90s. And so we changed our name because we were getting concerned that the first artists using photographers who were making art were starting to pass away, and there was no plan. There's no plan. So yeah, excuse me, I got a cough. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
I'm lingering with a cough. Yeah, so I mean so we changed our name and we set up we set up a collection, an artist archive collection, to work with artists to digitize their archives to preserve them for the future. So that's why we changed the name, joined the Museum Standards Program, and realized we needed to learn how to look after and protect contemporary practice for the future.
Because that's one of the the standards, right? Is that to have a museum label, you've got to be a collecting museum. There's you've got to and a collecting museum, you've got to have like an archivist, a registrar or something on staff, right? Or at least
So some people think we were very green when we started, but the Museum Standard Program that we were the first organization of photography to be accepted onto from a fine art perspective in Ireland. It teaches you how to do it. So we're learning so much, and it's a real obligation to archive someone's work. And we physically do the digitization and we make the prints. And that what we do is we do quite a wide scanning and then keep an agreed small selection. But what we really wanted to do was make sure that we were collecting series, because it was great that local and national museums were starting to collect work, but it tended to be the same iconic set of images.
Yep.
And we really need to be sure that the wider series were getting collected.
Very cool. What are some other programs that I saw? There was a bunch of different things on the website. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about some of the programming you've got? Nope.
Sorry, we have about 5 exhibitions a year. So we currently have our talents show, which is new talent. So that is a showcase for people that we support with our artist residency program. Because in addition to our 2 gallery spaces, we have production facilities, which are quite unusual. So we have high-end scanning. We've just upgraded our Hasselblad scanner to a digital back Hasselblad system, which is really important because that means that artists can make pro scans.
Yep.
If they're working for, and that's crucial. And that also supports the development of our collection. So that's what we have on at the moment. It is showcasing work that we have supported over the last year. So it includes work by 3 recent graduates. We set up this program to support artists in the first year out of college. So all the college lecturers, they nominate people. And then we have an international panel of curators and Irish curators who select 3 people to be supported. And the aim with that was we were concerned that people were having this great experience in college, but then falling off a cliff when they finished. So we provide them with monthly meetings. They do peer reviews with each other. They show their work and they develop new work. And we're lucky that Sigma came to us, the fantastic family-run Japanese super lens company, came in one day and liked what we did and said, we'd like to support you. So in the coming year, they're going to be giving 2,000 each to 3 of our artists who will be selected for the next round of our graduate program, just to support them work. And they're also setting up an equipment cupboard.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's great. It's fantastic. But also there's a really supportive community between the previous alumni and this as well. So it's really great. So they get to meet each other from different colleges. We get great international experts to talk to them at various aspects, be it, how to apply for grants or how to edit your work. So it's really good. So this show brings together our graduates. And then look, we do a lot of work around diversity. So our Arts Council had done a survey in Ireland and had found that it was Black Irish artists were experiencing the most difficulty in accessing opportunities. So we organized we did a call out for artists to join us, to 3 artists join us for a year. So we had 3 fantastic artists Black Irish artists join us. And again, we got a panel of international experts in African photography to select them, and so gave them, so they're in the show as well, but they're all in together with no difference. So it's great. And then one artist called Ben Malcolmson, who's a young artist that we supported on a cross-border commission,
What's that?
Together. It was called Shared Histories, Diverse Views. And so Ben would be from the Shankill Road in Belfast, so a very kind of traditionally loyalist Protestant area. So Ben worked with people in along the border in Derry, Donegal and South Armagh, bring people from different traditions, different backgrounds, different regions together, talk about their experience through their family album, which is often our carrier oil to sparking conversations with communities around photography, to start looking at the subjective nature of photographic representation and start looking at how constructed photography is and how we're always manufacturing a version of ourselves. So that's a great way for us to open up these. And then Ben worked with them to make contemporary representations. So we kind of looked at how their areas were represented, collected their stories, and then Ben made a new commission piece from that experience with them. And that's just been shown in Donegal, and it's going to be shown in Belfast International Festival. So his film is in the thing as well. And then we also did a diversity commission. So we had this fantastic queer artist, Niamh Barry, and we gave her €5,000 to go off and make new work. So she got very intrigued by the film Twister. And she thought that Twisters, her way of explaining it was that queer people often live in the margins and they often have very niche interests and quite obsessional interests around certain things. So she thought that Twisters was very gay, to use her words. So she started looking into it and she came across this trans tornado chaser. And she went and made a portrait and a film about her. So that's what our current show features. So quite random. And then coming up after that is quite a classic show for us, but it's going to be great. It's by an English artist who lives in America. He lives in New Orleans, Steve Pike. He would be very known for his photographs of philosophers or writers, or he started off in kind of post-punk new wave, so a lot of photographs of the Pogues, people like that. So he's done a 40-year project photographing Irish writers. So that's just a small show we have. But we've got big projects on the way with things like we have a big European project on the way looking at climate action, and that's with partners in Cortona at the Move Festival, Imago Braga or Imago Lisboa in Lisbon, and Fotohof in Salzburg. So that's going to be supporting 12 artists' short films and then a touring exhibition, but also training and workshops online for artists around climate action. So that's one area of focus. We're also working towards kind of more long-term plans as well. We're always very interested in kind of interrogating the canon or looking beyond the traditional view to find what's been left out as well, or what voices aren't being brought in to the discussion. So we're setting up a platform for women's photography in Ireland with a long-term view of curating a survey exhibition on contemporary practices. So we've previously done a European Union women's photography project, but this would be nice just to curate our own show from Ireland. But it also includes people who would be experts in Irish photography, like Pauline Vermeer. Yes, she's great. She's fantastic. So we've already worked with Pauline. She did this great piece where we did a survey on the role of photography in social activism and protest in Ireland. And Pauline came up with this fantastic curation, a show reel that herself and her partner Mark Lesser made, and it was unseen work by, I think it was 7 or 8 women on the conflict in Northern Ireland that had never been seen before. So she's so super on, and she's just bringing out a new book as well with Atelier EXP.
Yeah, so, the Japanese photography one.
Yeah, no, that was the last one. This we did that was a project we developed with Pauline.
Okay.
So that was Hiko camera, and we actually developed that as part of our archive initiative. So Pauline came to us with that just before lockdown, and we said, oh my God, we'd love to do something like this. We'd seen one photograph of the milk bottles in a Martin Parr show in the Barbican in London, which was other views of Britain. And it had this one picture, or a few pictures by Akihiko Cameron. We went, God, who's he? Never heard of him. And then Pauline by chance got in touch, and Pauline, given her other area of expertise is Japanese photography, said, would you like to do something? So Pauline convened the team of people that came together with Misaki Toda, who's the curatorial advisor to the estate of Akihiko camera, and Ateli EXB. And we also worked with Sean O'Hagan, who's a great writer on photography for The Observer and previously The Guardian. So we brought a team of people together, and Kusio Camera, who would be the daughter of Okamura. And I should probably explain, Akihiko Kamura was a Japanese photographer. He was born just before, I think, the Second World War. He became a photojournalist and photographed in Vietnam, but got thrown out. But he was very interested in kind of protest against colonialism. And so he came to Ireland just the week, literally, the Troubles broke out. And then decided that he wanted, strangely, to move his entire second family to live in Ireland. And so he did so in 1969 and lived here for 15, 16 years until his untimely death in his 50s.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and there had been very few Japanese families there. So it's a very unusual story. And what was also unusual as well was very little of it was published. There was only one set of images published in Japanese Playboy during his lifetime. So he made this incredible body of work that no one saw. And so he was making work from 1969 until 1985. But it was before mobile phones. So he was living with his family. He had them living up in the mountains, literally, outside
Away from
Dublin,
it.
where there were no avocados or any Japanese food to be had. And then disappearing off for weeks, months at a time.
Wow.
To make work that no one saw. So it was a remarkable project that Pauline kickstarted, in bringing it together. And so we worked with the archive, and we brought his transparencies, lovely Kodachrome, over to Dublin, and we digitized them and we cleaned them up. And from that, we made the prints for the show, which is currently on show in Belfast, Ulster Museum, and the files for the book, which was produced by Ateli EXB, which then went on to win a number of international awards. So it's been a great project. But so that was kind of a nice example of how our archive works. That we're not collecting work with our collection, we're making it. So that's a really and that's something we're going to continue to do. So we'll be working with Pauline. She did that great project on the Japanese women survey show that was in Arles. But so we're hoping to work with Pauline and curators with expertise in Irish photography across the island of Ireland to build that out for the next few years. So that'll be fun.
Amazing. It sounds like you've got like multi-tiered projects, some that are like 5 years out, that are 3 years, 1 year, 6 months.
Yeah.
How do you manage to keep everything moving without having too many things fall through the cracks?
Well, we've got a brilliant team. I mean, I only do what I do because I'm part of a team. We've got a most fantastic team. I've got we've 2 curatorial colleagues. My colleague Tanya Kiang is leading the Creative Europe Climate Action Project. So that's a huge thing. So she's taking care of that. And then my other colleague, Darren Campion, he leads the work with the young graduates and those people as well. He's curating some fantastic group shows that are coming up. He's doing a great after image one, looking at the changing role of photography and that shifting in image culture and all that. So, and he's also a writer on photography. So within the team, we've got the most brilliant administrator that you could ever have in the world, Niamh Ferry. So it's the admin support that frees you up to do those things. It's kind of remarkable. We'll be taking on a new collection manager now, because we had the role of collection manager and digital archivist and exhibition printer, because we print our own shows as well.
That's handy.
And it was too much.
Yeah.
So now we've kind of separated out that role, and that's a lot better.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a lot. But we've got 2 education people now, which is great, because for us it's really important that we're connecting artists making great work. We support them to make great work, but also that they're sharing it with audiences, and that we're really thinking about who we're making the work for. There's no point in us making work if we're not connecting with as wide a range of people as possible. And in that, there's an awful lot of very humbling learning around how you communicate and how and the language that you use, and speaking simply, in order not to be elitist. So we're having to unlearn lots of things. So that's the journey we're on since we changed to become a museum. But it's one of the best things we've done because it's radically shifted our thinking about what our role is. Our role is to support great art, show great art, but then find lots of ways to radically get people to engage with it.
Very cool. How big is your space? You said you had two galleries?
It's not very big. It's medium size. It's about what, 800 square meters but that's our biggest challenge at the moment, and our main strategic focus is we love being on the quays on a main thoroughfare because we weren't a destination. People came across, and where we are is we're in a pedestrianized square, and it's a beautiful award-winning building, but it's just not big enough.
Yeah.
We can't show enough diverse exhibitions at the same time. So we'd love to have a collection room with a semi-permanent exhibition there, and to show bigger and more diverse works than we can currently.
Is there a building you've got an eye on?
There is. We've goes at a few buildings. Oh yes, I've got a building I've got my eye on right in the center of the city. Yeah. So I'm hatching cunning plans that are too early to chat about, and I don't want to jinx it. But yeah, I mean, my dream is to have a space that people can kind of go, oh, I've got 5 minutes, I'll go there because it's free or it's warm, or I can wheel my buggy in, I can come in my wheelchair, or I can come in with my luggage, and it's there, and I don't have to seek it. That it's there because, you know, I think we radically need to rethink the cultural footprint in Dublin. Okay. Because it hasn't changed very much since the English left. You know, where our spaces have been amended or extended a wee bit here and there, but we never had those big public, national, international scale spaces that other cities have. It's improving all the time, and there's been a lot of growth, but you know, we'd love something that's really, really big and ambitious and accessible and smack in the middle.
Well, good luck. I'm not going to ask, like you said, it's I don't want to jinx it.
I'll keep you in the loop. I'll keep you in the loop. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it.
Knock on wood somewhere. So where do you, I guess, can you talk to me a little bit about how you find the artists? I mean, you mentioned Martin Parr, you know, is globally known and everything, and then you've got the education program, so you get the schools that are nominating artists and everything. And where are some other places you find artists to work with?
We've got a network of people that we trust, who kind of chat to us, that we kind of, you know, always keep in contact with, people with a good eye and a good ear. We would be kind of networked in internationally, but I think a lot of it is about getting out there and seeing work, and just kind of, and also meeting artists, be it in networking situations, portfolio reviews, online, Instagram, you name it. Although I'm a bit suspicious about Instagram and its role in photography, causes a lot of stress for people. So I'm a bit conflicted around that one. But I think it's just about keeping an eye on things. We do sometimes, you know, like we had a show with a fantastic young Northern Irish photographer who was a recent graduate, and her name was Emma Spreadborough, and we showed that with a more mature artist, Sharon Murphy, and the two combinations together were fantastic. But Emma was somebody who came to us for a portfolio review, you know, and we went, yeah, because there is a problem with portfolio reviews. It is a difficult, it's quite a machine, the portfolio review thing. So we always like to make sure that for us, when we do it, that we're participating in reviews where there is the opportunity for an outcome.
What do you mean?
That there might be a prize, or someone might be selected to win something for it, or that we are actively open to, if we see good work, inviting it into our program.
Oh, I see. So you, like, if somebody calls and says, hey, we want you to come to be a reviewer, you would look at your schedule and like, you know what, we are booked out for the next 2 years and we don't have any space, so we're not going to, because you just don't want to be another clickbait, basically, about having the museum there.
Yeah, I mean, there was an awful lot of like online judging, and you're like going, you know, there has to, there's a power balance needs to be maintained between the artist and the curator, and I don't like it when it's too in favor of curators. You know, if artists are showing the work, there should also be, you know, I've taken part in some great portfolio reviews, things that are organized, and usually whoever is the choice of the curators all vote, and somebody gets an exhibition out of it the next year. That's the best thing where you're actually, you know what I mean? There's a real opportunity. So there's something tangible. So I love it when that happens too. But that's really where we see work. It's by people coming to us, by keeping an eye on what's going on, and by getting out there. So we would, travel a bit.
Awesome. What are some other things that photographers should like keep an eye out for on those open calls? Like I feel like I've got a list of some like red flags, most of which is just money. But like what are some of the things that you think that artists should like just keep in mind when they're deciding?
I think look at the quality. I like when we just did our first open call, which was a subscription one, which we had avoided, just thinking we didn't like the model so much, but we ended up with an unexpected gap in our programming because someone else's plans changed. So we did it, and actually we were surprised at how positive it was. But we only did it because we could offer 5 people a fee and feature in a show, and we did a virtual gallery for the short list of 15. So we paid for a Kunstmatrix virtual gallery space because so that there was I would be suspicious of ones where there's 50, 100, 200 winners, because then you're in something that's very incomprehensible. For us, if it resulted in something tangible and a real relationship with the artist and a proper show in a proper space with the same respect as everything else, that was for us was what was important to us. And I think we would always look at in other ones. We like in earlier days I've taken part in judging, and I've ended up at times looking at 1,200 submissions, and you stop. It's not fair. You're not seeing them properly at that stage.
Click.
Yeah, but I think it's also about the standard. I think it's about the call, it's about the jury, it's about the call. And I think that you really do remember work when you see things like this, especially if you get down to the last 50, even if you don't make it. We've often shown work that may not have been selected, but you remember it because you see it. So actually, I think it's about the quality of the jury. And even though you might not get through to the final 5 or 1, your work is being seen if it's a serious jury.
Yep.
And it's professionally done. I think so I would be keeping an eye out for the categories, that it's a serious, that there's a theme, that it's not something that's too cheesy, that it's professional, that there's a standard. So it's about the standard. So pick carefully. It's still really useful. We've seen a lot of good work. We're making notes. We're kind of going, remember that for the future. So so that's what I think works with them, but to handle with care because it's a lot.
Yeah, so it is exactly that, right? Like because it may not have made it to the opening on that show, the final 10 or whatever, but
Yeah.
if it caught your eye, you're flagging it and just like it's there. And something may not work out, but you're still like, I really like this body of work. Let's just keep it in mind for hopefully something
I
will
think
line
that's
up.
the main thing for artists. We always say to artists, we're curating in a kind of like a stream, and we might have done one theme, then we're moving on to something else. Just because you don't get selected at one particular time, you go and meet someone going, this doesn't fit with our programming now. It might be because your work is addressing a concept or a theme or approach that they've recently done. And they're not going to go back there, but it doesn't mean your work isn't good. So I think that's really important for artists to realize that, just because one person says no at a particular time, it doesn't, don't keep going, because it just might not be the right time for that organization. And there's a bit of a zeitgeist too, as well. Themes or approaches have a moment. Sometimes things can be bubbling under for a while, and then the moment comes.
Yep. And then it's up.
It's really hard being an artist, though. It's very difficult. It's a real vocation, like fair play to them, like where would we be without our artists?
I don't know. Is there a dream project for you? Is there something you haven't been able to do yet?
Yeah, so many things. Yeah, so many things. It's just a big long list of them. We urgently need to critically frame contemporary practices with a big survey exhibition and a publication with serious text. So that's in planning. And looking at women also, because we've got this funny history and we've got this radically changing population where 1 in 4 people are now not born in Ireland who are Irish.
Oh.
So yeah, so we're now multicultural. kind of within 20 years, flip. And so we really don't want to go down an alt-right route, but I think that it's going to be so interesting to work with the next generation of Black Irish artists to look at our colonial past, because even though we were colonized, 1/3, I think it was, of the British Army at one point in time was Irish. So we have been foot soldiers in the colonizing endeavors around the world. So we're implicated, and our collections still have holding. So it'd be really interesting. And we also were very active in colonizing people's souls through our religious orders who went out as missionaries. So I think responding to the changing demographics in Ireland is going to be the next new exciting thing to do, is to see how the next generation of artists from diverse ethnic, cultural backgrounds make new work, and how we also engage with the histories.
Is there a term for those? Because it's not immigrants. Is it like non-pats?
Some people call people New Irish,
The new Irish?
Yeah, so, but I think that's going to be really interesting to see where that goes, and our responsibility to also better understand our role in their difficult histories. So I think that's going to be a really exciting thing to be looking at.
Yeah, how do you like just try to think about like, is there an interactive like, map of all of these people and how they end up uh getting to Ireland? Is it through jobs or school, marriage, family,
A lot of times
escaping?
it is that religious order. We've a lot of people from Nigeria because a lot of Irish nuns went there,
Okay.
and so you have that connection where they've been educated by the Irish, or different waves of people went to Argentina because of different. So and there's often Irish people are like a lot of people who a lot of diaspora. There's thread migration, so it works like that. The way with America, you'll have, if it's in Germantown and Philly, you have a lot of people from County Monaghan. It's it's that kind of thing. So I think that's going to be really interesting. How do we address? And there's going to be a lot of learning for us in that, because we've been very obsessed to say Irish people know their own history too well. So and the English don't know it well enough. But but I think we need then just we think like an island, and I think just opening up to all these people that have come to live with us who are now Irish, that's going to be really interesting to see how photography relates to that. And to work with, we've worked with Anne Aqualler, who's a British-based Nigerian curator. So we'd love to do a project with her in the future. So things like that, connecting artists in Ireland with Africa, the things like that would be super interesting.
Very cool. Um, Shoot, I just lost my next question. Um, Ireland protests.
So I'll just kind of say a bit more. You're asking what we do. So what we have in our space for anyone who comes to us, we have a bookshop. We run courses for people. We run training for artists. In our basement, we've got dark rooms still, which are really popular. There's a lot of people kind of, every time there's a move forward with some new, with AI at the moment, there is also a flex towards the analog. So we have Eamon Doyle in there making new work at the moment. So that's really nice to be able to keep that going. And then we have a digital suite where we have kind of flatbed scanners and this new Hasselblad system, which is super. So people come and make work with us there. And then we've our gallery space, and then we have we've just started a new reference library. So we've got this fantastic magazine called Source Magazine, which is based in Belfast, but it actually covers Ireland and the UK. And we've just acquired a set of artists' self-published books from their library, from them. So that's going to be a new reference library. But we really are at capacity in our building. We've a tiny collection storeroom. So that's why we urgently need to move, because we literally have nowhere to work with. So sorry. But that's what happens in our space, and we have this great system with reusable Halba frames, which is really sustainable option for artists, in terms of it's a magnetic pressure system, so you can take prints out and reuse them. It's brilliant. It's museum standard glass, so that allows us to frameworks and then deframe and put things into archive portfolio boxes afterwards as collection. So that's So that's been a big change for us, in the last few years. And then our program mostly focuses on, in recent years, developing major bodies of work, serious bodies of work by Irish artists, because we feel that's one of our primary roles is to do that. And now our next kind of 3-year plan will be trying to get that out more broadly into the world, into serious spaces, working with the best to show the best internationally. So we're really excited that we're going to be working with Jackie Nickerson, who's represented by Jack Scheinman Gallery in New York. So she's a really important serious artist, and she's got 3 books coming out with Steidl. So we're going to be doing a mid-career retrospective with her as well. So that's the kind of thing that's coming through. So we've done great bodies of work with people like Lorraine Tuck, lots of different people, Anthony Haughey, there's loads of people that we have developed over the years, Trish Morrissey. And so now it's our job to try and then start to tour these works out. We did a big collection initiative with a street photographer called Tony O'Shea, and then we've got the Akihiko camera show. So things like that, just starting to build a portfolio that we can then start to move out.
Amazing. You mentioned books and a bookstore, and you also, did I see online that you make some books in-house?
Oh, very little, and this is a big focus for us for the future. So we're kind of like we used to be like 18 months planned in advance, and for good and bad, we're now programmed up to 2028 into 2029,
Wow.
which is fine, but it allows us to do ambitious projects, but it means we don't have so much flexibility. But as part of that, we're trying to just take it to the next level and do a book and a show together. So trying to do really good books and really good shows and get them out there. So that's going to be our thing. So there's been very little funding up to now for photo books. So we have this, like, we've got quite a few significant artists who should have had photo books along the way over the last 20 years that haven't been produced because the funding hasn't been there. So we're thinking we might start a prize and try and get funding for an international prize to do an historic book and a contemporary book and an international book, because we really need to develop a funding stream to support publishing, because there's a lot of self-publishing going on, but artists are becoming, and it's a real concern for me, because I think artists are impoverishing themselves. They're spending a lot of money, maybe 15, 20,000. So they don't have a car, or they don't have a family, because they're so dedicated. Their effort and their time, the money's going into making these photo books. And they don't always get backed up by the distribution. They don't always, or maybe it takes 10 years for them to sell. And it's the artist suffering in that. So we're trying to find a way to change that.
Great. All for it. Yeah, I my issue about those high-end photo books is it's a $30,000 to $50,000 investment, and it's a promo piece, and they're great, but you've got to figure out a way to get it funded. And if it's out of pocket, you may not see it back. It's people are going to want the book.
Commercial. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think like that, and we need photo books. It's like central to photography, but it's got quite, and there's so many of them now that the channels are kind of clogged, and it's, and not everything should be a photo book. And sometimes they get slightly noisy in the design for me, just personally. Yep. But that is counterbalanced by just these epically beautiful, fantastic books that come along and go, wow. Yeah. So for us, we're just trying to just start small and just see what we can do and work with the best people. So we have Jordan Albis from Atelier EXP coming over to work with 5 artists that we're working at the moment to support them just to develop the design of their photo book. And we just have an open call that just finished this week of €5,000 just to support artists to develop a photo book. And that's with our partners in Northern Ireland, with Belfast Exposed and Source Magazine and Belfast Photo Fest. So that's just trying to find money to go, there you go. And no end product. It's very bad. It's very bad design on our part, but it's just, here you go. Here's money, design a photo book. So that's a big challenge for us, is to try and find philanthropic support or sponsorship. We don't have that culture like you do in America. Our businesses are quite slow at supporting culture. It's just a different model. So it's trying to find ways to do that. So that's something that we're actively trying to see how we can do that.
I wouldn't say that the businesses are true. There's not a lot of businesses that are like really open to supporting cultural movements. I mean, there's a few, but it's a challenge to get them to put some money towards,
yeah.
Yeah.
so it'll be new territory for us. I mean, we're lucky that we have a bookshop, and we know good people who can advise us. But I think the main thing, given that we're an island as well, is distribution. There's no point in us making it if it doesn't get out there. So I think that's the key thing, is distribution. But we have
Absolutely.
cunning plans, cunning plans.
It sounds like there's so many things going on. I've already lost track. Can you tell me a little bit about the magazine? Like, so tell me again what the relationship is with them.
Source magazine would be it's periodical, and they are based in Belfast, and they've a number of different designs over the years, but they would cover the UK and Ireland, and they just do the most rigorous in-depth research and commission writing and do reviews. And yeah, anyone kind of working in the British Isles and internationally, they've covered them. They've been so important. They've been going since the late 1980s, I think.
Wow.
The standard is just incredible. They're just unbelievable and so rigorous, and kind of discreet about it too. There's no show ponying. They're very just really, really focused, hardworking people. They're amazing. And John Duncan's got one of the best photographic eyes that I've come across. He's super tight. He just knows good stuff when he sees it. So yeah, we partnered with them a lot over the years with our Irish Photo Network. So that's an all Ireland cross border network, just to try and support artists on both sides, because sometimes people can get stuck in pockets of funding, and it's just to try and open things up and share and exchange and just share expertise. So that do an amazing job.
John's the publisher, or
John is one of the editors of it. Yeah, they have a great online archive. They do a graduate photography thing where key people worldwide pick their top UK or Irish graduate, and so but their own archive is just amazing. Yeah, they're brilliant.
very cool. Yeah, I can see how you must be like bursting at the seams just with everything you're going on. Like I can imagine you need like a 4-story building for all of the
Building
programming.
is like a caravan. It is lovely, and it was actually designed to be like a camera. It's got a screen that comes down at the front, and it's got like moving walls, and we've got an outdoor projection on the front of our building, so we can screen movies and artists work on the front of our building, but it's just not big enough. So yeah, we'd like to show more and do more, So yeah, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
I'm sure one of those buildings is going to say yes.
Hope so.
They will. They will. Is there anything else we didn't talk about? I feel like I got through everything that I had on my list. Is there anything you wanted that we didn't share already?
Oh, don't think so. I'm too close to see, I think. I think I'm too close to see. Yeah. I mean, I think our challenge for us is getting more people in, and getting more work out, being surrounded by water, it's just the mobility for us, it's that thing and trialing the virtual online space was kind of interesting, because I never, I think during COVID and things like that, we all got really fed up with those things. And we were going, why we do it? But actually, we've got a lot of we've got a diversity advisor panel who are very active on the whole kind of not being Dublin centric, finding a way for your audiences to reach us. So actually, we were kind of surprised at how it kind of worked. One thing we want to develop with it though is, with all this kind of trying to get ahead and think more strategically and have better long-term planning, we're not as responsive as we'd like to be. And that's a problem, particularly with today's challenging political situation worldwide. Photography in the time of magazines would have been right there at the front, Parry Match, like whatever, you know what I mean? That would have been defining the world through photography and editorials, and in magazines, and that's not there anymore. So finding a way to showcase work outside our normal program that's faster that's something that's come around as an issue for us. So there's Irish photographers like Seamus Murphy, who worked with Maury Colvin, has done a lot of work in the Middle East, and we don't have any space in our program to show it. And he's made a great new body of work about the relationship between the US and Russia that we'd love to show if we had the space, but we don't. But we might, you know what I mean? So we might start to look at our virtual space as a way to extend our footprint, virtually, that we can't accommodate because we got the program set out so far ahead.
At least until, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just trying to find ways around that when you're, it's that flexibility to do what photography does best, which is to show the world photographed.
How do you feel about possibly doing a gallery in the future that has like embedded LED walls, not like screens that are, sitting out there look like televisions, but almost like the Industrial Light and Magic LED
Yeah,
screens that are just seamless, and then you can just be changing the work, almost on the, it could be feeding.
it could be really interesting. It's like all it's like anything. It's how do you curate that? I remember when
Yeah.
the photographers gallery moved to the new space, they had that bank, the screen when you came into the space, and a lot of people were wondering how we going to engage with that. And I think it has to be in its own room almost. I think it has to be very, you know what I mean? I think if it's in a transitional space or a shared space, it's I think it can get lost because you're not focusing on it. But I think it would work very well if it was in a designated, quiet, dark space where you had to sit down and contemplate it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it might feel a little bit like advertising or visual noise. And I think that is the way to do it, because I think there's a huge potential in that. If we, like when we did our open color, we had a slideshow with a sort of projection room with 15 shortlisted people, and it was the work was so strong, but because it was a nice room that was quiet, that you could engage with it, it worked. And I think that's the space, and I think it could be really interesting to be looking at that. And also the way that, I suppose photography, because of social media now, is so important in that way that it's responding to the world. It's almost like we've gone back to medieval times where the image is leading. It's like stained glass windows. People are responding to images instinctively really fast before text now. So that's going to be something that's going to be really interesting for photography organizations to engage with, because we had this move away from photojournalism and move away from kind of positive notions around facts or narratives or things like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see that evolving role as truth becomes questioned. Are we going to be authenticators? Are we like of truth? Will there be a space where we're going to be having, a wall, like you suggest, where we are giving voice to an authentic, altered, humanly edited, subjective experience? I don't know. It's an interesting one.
Yeah. It's a change, it's like what is possible with the technology and what makes sense to engage with the audience. Like, is there a room that's like can work as a movie theater, like you're saying, but has the projection or something going that is, and I don't know, is there a way I hate to say it, but is there a way for AI to curate this, with the right kind of
I think
um
there could be. I think there could be. I think you'll always have to have kind of like gatekeepers on it, because you need that for quality. But I think that's going to be interesting to see. I think we do have to engage with AI. There's lots of positives in it. We can't go, so this is something that we've talked about with lots of different organizations. But I think I think we have to engage with it in some way.
yeah,
In some way. So, but
can't
I think
avoid it.
that notion of giving it an active platform could be a really interesting one, just even as a test for a series of organizations, maybe just to roll out collectively and evaluate and see, or to share information.
So exciting. Trish, thank you so much. You have so many things going on. I am just amazed, and I cannot wait to see the new space. The existing space sounds fantastic, and I think that you're going to immediately fill up the next one as well with all
Thank
the
you.
amazing programs.
Yeah, yeah. So there's quite bookshop. There's a lot going on. It's good. Irish photography is really strong at the moment. So we're lucky. We're lucky we've lots to show. We're lucky. We're lucky. It's a good time. It's a good time. So if anyone's in Dublin, come and see us. We're free.
I will definitely stop by the next time I'm in town.
Do.
Um, so Trish, thank you again. Thank you everybody for listening,
Thank you,
and
Stephen.
I will see
Lovely
you
chatting to
guys.
you.
Yes,
Okay.
you as well. Thank you. Hey.